Hey, thanks for clicking on this video and giving me a shot. Now, I'm broke as a joke. I know I look rich, but I'm not. Despite all that, I still want to give people some perspective on how they can manage their money. Now, I've never made a lot of money, never ever have made a lot of money in my time, but I've done smart things with it in my opinion. I've managed my money, or what little money I've had, in a way that has enriched my life for the better. And I'd just like to share with anyone out there who's willing to listen 5 things that have impacted me very, very positively when it comes to managing my money and living a more secure life when it comes to my finances. The first thing is incredibly obvious to most all of us, and it's the thing that all of us instinctively gravitate towards here in capitalist America, which is find a way to earn more money. Whether you find a high income skill or you find a way to get a raise at your job that you're currently working at, whether you find some sort of side hustle or some other thing you can do on the side to make money in addition to your job, whatever that might be, find a way to make more money however you can. So that goes without saying. So let's just move on to the next one, because we all know that we need to make more money in order to live a more secure life in a capitalist society. The next thing you want to focus on, which I think many people overlook, reduce your spending. And reducing your spending means cutting back all your expenses that are just not necessary, that don't make you even happy. People think that they're happier by subscribing to all these different streaming sites. They think they're happier by subscribing to this service or that, or getting a magazine subscription. There are so many ways that people spend their money that are just frivolous, that don't do anything for you at all. And you think that they're making you happy by purchasing a good or a service, a new TV or something. It doesn't make you any happier. Very often it doesn't. If anything, it makes you less happy, because now you don't have that money set aside for some other thing that's more necessary, like a peace of mind with an emergency fund. Reducing your expenditures is something often, once again, I feel people overlook, and they don't focus on enough, because when you make more money, you want to spend that money. You're like, I've earned this money, I deserve to do something good for myself. I deserve to buy myself something nice. I deserve to subscribe to this new thing, this new streaming service, or whatever it might be. But it doesn't really do you much good, and very often it doesn't make you any happier. The next thing you want to focus on, in my opinion, this is what I do. I'm giving not advice to people out there. I'm not a financial advisor, so warning, warning, warning. These are things that have changed my life for the better. The third thing is acquire an emergency fund. You cannot put a price on peace of mind, that's for sure. So what you want to do is have a couple $1,000s, anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000 saved up in an emergency fund. In case something goes wrong, you know that things are going to be okay, or at least long enough that you can get back on track and find a way to get that job back. If you lost a job, you lost your income. So for me, I'm comfortable once I get about $5,000 in the bank. I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that in case something goes wrong, I can navigate through it and I'm gonna be okay, because I have that emergency fund that's gonna take care of me in case my car crashes, an injury of some sort, in case I lose my income. I know it's easy for me to say to save up money, like that's what we're all trying to do here, right? Increase your income, reduce your expenses, and then get an emergency fund up. Now the next thing you want to do is find a way to make interest work for you instead of against you. And the way to do that is by paying off all your debt. You got to do that after you get your emergency fund. You want to make sure you have an emergency fund, because you got to take care of number one, right? You have to make sure that everything's going to be okay for you. So make sure you have an emergency fund. That's the first thing you got to save up for. You have to find a way in order to acquire money and stop spending more money than you make. Earn more money, reduce your expenses, get an emergency fund, pay off your debt as soon as possible, because interest eats you up alive. Interest works against you more often than it works for you as a consumer in capitalist America. You have to make sure that you pay off all those debts so the interest isn't just eating away at that money that you should otherwise be saving for investments. That's right. So once you get through all these steps, you can finally start investing money. You can take that money and start making it grow for itself and for you ultimately. The key to that with investments is to be a net buyer of investments and hold on to them for the long term. You want to make sure that whatever you invest in is going to give you a decent enough return over a long period of time. In my opinion, I'm a more conservative investor. Some people believe in day trading, buying and selling throughout the day, getting 5% here, 10% there. I think that I'm not educated well enough to know what I should and should not invest in, so I stick easy with an S&P 500 index fund, a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, buying into it regularly, dollar cost averaging they call it. So whatever you're comfortable purchasing, if it's $50 every paycheck, just keep throwing $50 into this fund and it'll grow over time. And if you keep reinvesting the dividends, a lot of financial experts will agree that your money can grow as little as 7% to 9% on average, depending on what fund you purchased and how the markets are. You can never predict the markets, but if you look at the long term of S&P 500 index funds and how they perform, about 10 years or so, you should double your money based off the rule of 72. If you don't know what the rule of 72 is, I recommend you look it up, but I'll explain it really quick right here today. So if your money earns, say, 7% for the year, the rule of 72 says if you take 72 and divide it by your interest rate, which say it's 7%, we'll get about 10. So every 10 years or so, your money should double. Pretty sweet, right? So you take the rule of 72, take 72 divided by your interest rate, that'll tell you how many years it will take for your money to double. That's an important thing to consider. So let's go back all 5 steps once again. It's important to increase your income first and foremost and reduce those expenses as much as you can. It's just as important, if not more important, than making more money. Reducing how much money is leaving your account. You want to keep as much money as you make as possible, and so you can save up for that emergency fund. That emergency fund will give you much needed peace of mind to know that everything's going to be okay in case something goes wrong. And then after you get that emergency fund, of course, pay off all those debts. You want the interest to work in your interest instead of against your interest. By paying off those debts, it'll enable you to have the freedom to be able to start investing that money into investment accounts, whether it's stocks, bonds, or index funds. I like my index funds personally, but of course, once again, I am not a financial advisor. I'm here to entertain you, and I recommend that you do your own due diligence and you look up your own information and do your own research in figuring out what a proper financial plan will work with your personal situation. I wish I learned this stuff when I was much younger age, but hey, sometimes the lessons you learn come at just the right time in your life. And for me, this happened a couple of years ago when I quit drinking, and I learned to look at where my money's going so I can take better control of my life and move it in a more positive direction and live a more fulfilling life, a more free life. And with all that being considered, folks, thanks very much for watching this video. Once again, I am not a financial expert. I am broke as a joke. Learning these things have provided me a much better quality of life, and it has put me in a situation where I can afford to buy a house. I just bought a house. I bought a house and I'm excited to move into it. I've been renting here for way too long now, and it's time for me to move forward with my life, put on my big boy pants, and own a home. And that's what I'm gonna do, and I could not have done it if I wasn't following those 5 steps. Hopefully this video was helpful for someone out there. I know this is a lot of the same stuff, and sometimes people don't want to hear the harsh reality. You gotta increase how much money you make, you gotta decrease how much you're spending. You need that emergency fund. There's no question about that. You gotta pay off those debts, because if you have debts and they're just acquiring more and more interest, you're never gonna get out of debt unless you start paying that off as soon as possible. Pay down that principal and then start investing that money. Have that money work for itself to make more money for you so you have a more sound future. Hopefully this does something good for someone out there. I really hope so. It's changed my life for the better, and I'll end this video the way I've been ending all my videos lately, with these words of wisdom. As cheesy as they may be for some folks out there, but I don't care anymore. Please, folks, remember to never give up. Do your best. Stay true to you and who you are and what you stand for. And be amazing, my friends. And the way to do that is just to be the best version of you. Be the best possible version of who you are. Thanks for watching again, folks. I'll see you in the next video, and good night.